Well, if there's one thing I learned about Thor Love and Thunder after I got a chance to watch it, guys, it's that, well, I guess goats can help you save the universe. Seriously. Goats. What's going on, everyone? James here with another real review, and Marvel fans, the time is finally here to talk about Thor Love and Thunder. A huge thank you to Disney and Marvel Studios for giving me the chance to watch this early for review. I got a chance to watch it in IMAX, and trust me, I recommend it. It makes 100% of a difference. Oh my gosh, the sound, the screen quality, I mean, it was just incredible. But you can get the chance to watch it in theaters July 8th, so when you do, let me know down below in the comments exactly what you think, and let's talk about the movie a little bit too in the comments. So you got any questions? I'll try to answer them as best I can. Of course, this is a spoiler-free review, so until the movie drops, I might not be able to answer more plot-specific questions, but guys, there's a lot to love about Love and Thunder. I just said love twice. The movie's directed and written by Taika Waititi, and it stars Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Natalie Portman as Jane Foster or the Mighty Thor, Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher, Taika Waititi himself as Korg, and Chris Pratt as Peter Quill. And we're not forgetting Tessa Thompson as King Valkyrie, okay? We got a lot to talk about when it comes to Tessa, but man, this movie, again, had so many highs and some lows. Now, before we talk about all the positives and the negatives, guys, and I give you my overall thoughts, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies like this all the time. So if you do too and you're a big Marvel fan, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on the bell, and hit the thumbs up button if you are a fan of what Thor has become since his inception with Kenneth Branagh's Thor up until now. And hey, go ahead and again, get loud in the comments and let me know what you think about Thor Love and Thunder. And if you're a Thor Ragnarok fan, boy, do I have good news for you. Now, if you don't know much about Thor Love and Thunder, let me simply put it just like this. Thor enlists with the help of Valkyrie, Korg, and ex-girlfriend Jane Foster to help fight Gorr the God Butcher, who intends to make the gods extinct. Dang it, Gorr, why you doing this? Now, guys, man, I liked a lot about this film, okay? There's so much to love. You know, some things work better than others, but man, is this positives list a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So let's go ahead and begin with this. In most areas, this is an improvement over Thor Ragnarok, a movie I loved. There's better cinematography. I felt the story was stronger, the soundtrack was much better, there's a more convincing villain here. There's even better CGI, and you know, for everyone that was talking about the green screen stuff, don't be worried, because to me, I barely noticed it here, and there's arguably better performances from our lead and supporting cast. But before we get into all of the acting, let's stay and talk about the technicalities of this movie, because technically speaking, this is miles ahead of Thor Ragnarok. The cinematographer here is one of my favorites that's been working in Hollywood. It's Barry Idoni. I hope I pronounced that properly, but he worked on The Mandalorian, and we know how beautiful The Mandalorian looks. And here in Thor Love and Thunder, he brings and borrows some of that technique and still makes it very unique for Thor Love and Thunder. But man, that opening shot alone with Gorr the God Butcher is just beautiful. The entire sequence just sets the stage for what's ahead, and there's even my favorite sequence in the entire film, the black and white sequence in the Shadow Realm, that was unreal. And honestly, the shots were just cleaner as a whole. And yeah, that black and white sequence, top 10 in the MCU. Might be top 5. And then you have the script itself that was written by Taika Waititi and Jennifer Caton Robinson. They both did a good job at playing with this more mature tone compared to Thor Ragnarok, but it was still effective with its humor, all of the jokes, and the timing. Now, did every joke work? No, we'll talk about that in the negatives though, but I felt the script was much stronger than Thor Ragnarok. There was a lot more to chew on in terms of substance, and the emotional beats definitely hit. And like I just mentioned, when it comes to the CGI and green screen, it was much better here in Thor Love and Thunder. I know there's this viral photo going around of Natalie Portman standing in front of a green screen, and you know what? To be honest, guys, that moment happened so fast, I didn't, one, hardly notice it. If it wasn't for that viral photo, I would not have known to look for it. But two, the green screen in Thor Ragnarok I think was a little more obvious. Here in Love and Thunder, it really wasn't. I maybe counted a little bit more than a few times where the green screen was obvious, but I love the CGI, I love the set designs, and I am a big fan of how this world was so darn vibrant and sometimes bleak. Yeah, really bleak with Christian Bale's character. But man, There is also something here for the diehard MCU fans, so if you're new to the MCU, you'll still have fun with this, I think, if you are at least caught up with most of the important beats here, but there are some fun Easter eggs for legacy MCU fans. So if you saw What If, you're going to notice one Easter egg towards the end, but there are also other Easter eggs here that just made me smile. I was tapping my friend and I'm like, dude, that's who I think it is, isn't it? So there are moments like that, but you know what, I don't want to beat around the bush any longer, guys. Let's get into the performances in Thor Love and Thunder, because there are some incredible bits of acting here. And it begins with Natalie Portman's performance as Jane Foster / the Mighty Thor. Y'all, I knew it from the moment we saw that first trailer that Natalie Portman was going to crush it in this role, and she did not disappoint. She delivers a breath of fresh air for the Thor franchise, because I loved her in the first movie. The second movie, not so much, because it was really not her fault. It was more so the script and the direction, but I missed her in Thor Ragnarok. But here in Thor Love and Thunder, it's an amazing, amazing story told, thankfully including Natalie Portman, because man, does she deliver that emotional performance the movie really needed. I also loved her acting within the action sequences, because what they do with Mjolnir is really unique to her character, and I just loved it. Seriously, guys, I just keep saying the word love around her performance, but it's so true, because there's really nothing to hate. I have no negatives for her performance here in this movie. And she also has a moment with Chris Hemsworth on a boat that it tugged at my heartstrings. And I was getting a little teary-eyed. But hey, enough about that, because again, we're not getting any spoilers. Let's dive right into her lover, her love interest, her ex, someone that she's interested in, but not really too much. I can't really dive into more than that, but Chris Hemsworth himself as Thor. He's silly, sometimes serious, but he's always wearing his heart on his sleeve in this movie, which honestly Chris Hemsworth conveys perfectly. Some aren't going to like that he is more emotional, and some maybe aren't going to like that he's not the brightest in the room, but I enjoyed his antics. I enjoyed the fact that he had to learn from others along his journey, because it really humanizes the character. And I know what you're saying, he's a god, how the heck can you humanize him? He's the god of thunder. But man, this is exactly why the MCU at least works so well with Thor's character and Taika. He's really nailed the representation for his character, because he's not just this like uber strong god. He is, dude, he's a human being. He's got a heart and soul. So yes, Chris Hemsworth's performance really was another standout in this movie. But let's move on to Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher, because guys, oh my goodness. He absolutely floored me with his performance here, because it is menacing, it's sinister, it is just so enticing at the same time. I could not take my eyes off the screen when he appears, and man, is it heartbreaking. That's all I'll say. But the reason that Shadow Realm moment in black and white worked as well as it did is because Christian Bale really convinced me. It was his penultimate moment in the movie, and boy, did it just captivate me from start to finish. To me, he's a top tier villain in the MCU. He's right up there with Thanos and Killmonger. I love what Christian Bale did with the character, and I absolutely appreciate the fact that they leaned into the horror elements of the film with Gorr. Something scared me, made me jump, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, and I'm really glad that the movie didn't stray from that, because it adds another level of dynamicism that the movie needed. And then there's Tessa Thompson as King Valkyrie. Yes, that's King Valkyrie. Put some respect on her name, y'all. She's leading the charge at New Asgard, and Tessa Thompson to me was my favorite actor actually in Thor Ragnarok. Something about her performance, I just continue to find something to love every time I rewatch that film. But here in Thor Love and Thunder, she does kind of take a little bit more of a backseat, and I get it, because Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth relationship was really put on full display. But when Tessa Thompson gets her moments to shine here, she shines bright. The movie also does well to give her character a great deal of character development, and it touches on her sexuality and leans into that during a conversation with Korg, who also reveals that his people have same-sex relationships. So there's a lot of representation in that corner there for the LGBTQ+ community, and you know what? The movie slides it into the actual narrative in a clean way. I can't tell you exactly how that happens, but there are subtle and sometimes not so subtle moments, but to me, that didn't really take away from the characters. If anything, it added layers to our characters. We got a chance to know them a little bit deeper, and gosh guys, Tessa Thompson, even just as an actress, is one of my favorites in Hollywood. So seeing her in this MCU sandbox and doing so well just, it warms my heart. And then there's Taika Waititi as Korg. Guys, I just love this hilarious and heartfelt performance from Taika. His narration at the beginning and his narration at the end of the film, just, it really adds something special, and I just really love how he is maybe even sometimes unintentionally funny in moments. I had myself laughing. He had me cackling at times where I just really didn't feel like maybe I needed to cackle, but man, Korg is so cool, and you just want to be his friend, don't you? He's just a consistently good character in the MCU, and I really loved what he's done in the past 2 Thor movies. But let's move on to probably my last notable performance here, and that is Russell Crowe as Zeus. Now listen, y'all, color me surprised when I heard his Greek accent in this movie. I'm like, dude, you're killing it right now. As someone who is half Greek, I can be honest with y'all, that kind of worked for me. I'm like, okay, you have a Greek accent, but you're also putting your own spin on it in a way, and I loved what he did with the character of Zeus here. There were moments that had me laughing, there were moments that had me very serious with this character, and you could tell that Russell Crowe kind of wanted to tap into the more serious side at times, and they gave him that platform. I'm just not going to tell you how. But guys, that's what I loved about Thor: Love and Thunder. Now let's get into the few things that didn't really work for me, and it starts with this. Your mileage may vary with Thor: Love and Thunder depending on if you loved Thor: Ragnarok, because if you didn't like that movie, I can see you not enjoying Thor: Love and Thunder, because Taika Waititi doubles down on his formula with what he did in Ragnarok here in Love and Thunder. I personally loved Thor: Ragnarok, so it wasn't an issue for me, but honestly, if you don't like as many jokes, if you really are trying to get more of a serious Thor, I can see you not really enjoying Love and Thunder. And to be honest, not all of the humor works in Love and Thunder either. I think that there are some running gags even that just don't really play as well after the first couple of times. I know we joked about the goats in the intro to the video, but man, were these 2 goats given a lot of screen time, at least more than I thought they would. And they were really funny for the first couple of times, maybe the first 3 times they were on screen. But guys, I don't know, I felt like the goats thing was overdone, and it was a little bit more annoying after a while than it was funny, so I think they really swung and missed with the goats for the most part, and there were even some punchlines and jokes that just never really resonated with me, but it didn't happen often, so it wasn't enough to really take me out of the experience. But yeah, the goats were probably the biggest offenders in this area. And I do think we needed a little bit more of Christian Bale as Gorr. It would have added many layers to this film. It would have maybe added even more of a punch when the movie needed it, but they don't necessarily lean into him too much. I mean, even though we open the film with Gorr the God Butcher, we kind of start to see him sprinkled in, you know? The Shadow Realm sequence was great, but I kind of was hoping for more of Christian Bale, because after seeing his performance as Gorr in the opening minutes, I knew that he was going to be great in this role, and I wanted just a little bit more because I think it would have added even more. It might have put me over the edge in terms of my rating for the film. And lastly here, guys, this is more of a technical note, but the score by Michael Giacchino, even though he is a legend and this score is good, well, it's a lot less impactful compared to Ragnarok. I actually love the score in Thor Ragnarok, and I found it to be very engaging. It was very unique to the film. But here, I do feel like Michael Giacchino's score is drawn out and maybe actually overshadowed by the soundtrack, which is excellent in this movie. You got Guns N' Roses, one of the best needle drops I've heard in the MCU, honestly. But again, even though Michael Giacchino's score isn't terrible, it's just not very memorable. But hey, it was cool here in Guns N' Roses, and it was great here in Sierra. But that's all I'm gonna say about that. So guys, overall, what did I think about Thor: Love and Thunder? And you know what? This is another win for the MCU. And if you're a fan of what they're doing with the character of Thor, this is another win for you too. I found so many performances to be endearing, loving, menacing, scary, and downright awesome in this movie. The pacing was excellent. I found the writing to be more mature. There's an emotional scene here in a moment that just tore my heart out, and I can't say that about every single MCU film. And I just felt that Love and Thunder really understood its audience. It didn't try to be bigger than what it was, and it laid down some foundations for the next Thor movie that I cannot wait to see unfold. So if you had to ask me what the heck am I rating this movie, it is a 4 out of 5. It's better than Thor Ragnarok. I would have it above Thor Ragnarok, but I do think it would have maybe gotten a little bit of a better rating for me if we got more Christian Bale as Gorr. That's the one thing I think the film was desperately needing at times. But man, oh man, did I have fun with Love and Thunder. I enjoyed my time with it, and honestly, I can't wait to rewatch this film. But guys, when you do get the chance to see it, let me know down below in the comments what you thought of this movie, and tell me, do you agree with my review? Do you disagree? Or do you fall right in the middle? And hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on the bell, and hit the thumbs up button if you want to see more reviews like this, guys. We got a lot more content coming down the pipeline, okay? We got some Netflix movies and TV shows to watch, and I cannot wait. Some crazy limited documentaries and series, because guys, I don't know, some of these titles that I've requested for, I just know I'm in for a wild ride. Alrighty, y'all, again, thank you so much for checking out my review of Thor Love and Thunder, and I'll catch you at the next screening. And if I hear any screaming goats, I'm gonna be looking for Thor, and Jane, and King Valkyrie, and Korg,